For decades, there was one man who didn't just run wrestling, he controlled it. Every match, every superstar, every moment you remember went through him. He turned a small regional business into a billion-dollar empire. He created legends, he destroyed careers, and he made decisions that no one else would dare to make. But power like that doesn't come without consequences, because behind the spotlight, there were whispers, scandals, secrets that refused to stay buried. This isn't just a success story. This is a story of power, obsession, and control. This is Vince McMahon. Before the global empire, before the bright lights of WrestleMania, wrestling was controlled by a system of territories. Promoters stayed in their lanes. No one crossed the line. It was an unspoken rule until Vince McMahon broke it. When he took over from his father, he didn't just inherit a company, he inherited limitations. And Vince hated limitations. While others played it safe, Vince went all in. He started buying out competitors, expanding nationally, taking his product into territories that weren't his. This wasn't business. This was war. Promoters saw him as reckless, dangerous, even insane. Because if Vince failed, he wouldn't just lose money, he would lose everything. But if he succeeded, he wouldn't just win, he would own the entire industry. And Vince McMahon, he wasn't afraid to gamble at all. Then came the moment that changed everything. WrestleMania, a concept so big, so expensive, so risky, that if it failed, WWE would be finished. Vince put everything on the line. Celebrities, mainstream media, larger-than-life characters, and at the center of it all, Hulk Hogan, charismatic, powerful, marketable, the perfect face of a new era. And it worked. Wrestling exploded into pop culture. Suddenly, this wasn't just a sport, it was entertainment. Kids watched it, families watched it, the world watched it. And Vince McMahon, he wasn't just a promoter anymore. He became the architect of a global phenomenon. But the bigger the empire, the bigger the target on your back. Then came the war. World Championship Wrestling, backed by massive money and led by powerful executives. WCW did the unthinkable. They started beating WWE. Week after week, stars jumped ship, ratings collapsed, fans turned away. For the first time in years, Vince McMahon was losing, badly. There were moments where it looked like WWE wouldn't survive. Think about that. The empire on the verge of collapse. But this is where Vince did what he does best. When backed into a corner, he changed the game. Vince McMahon didn't fight back as a businessman. He stepped into the ring and became the villain, the evil boss, the man everyone loved to hate, Mr. McMahon. And standing against him, Stone Cold Steve Austin. This wasn't just a storyline. This was a cultural explosion. Rebellion versus authority, chaos versus control, and fans couldn't get enough. Alongside megastars like The Rock, WWE entered its most dangerous, most controversial, and most successful era ever. The Attitude Era. Edgy content, unpredictable storytelling, moments that pushed every boundary, and it worked. WWE didn't just recover, it destroyed the competition. WCW was eventually bought out. The war was over. And Vince McMahon, he stood alone at the top. But power changes people. Behind the success, there were cracks, steroid scandals that shook the company, backstage politics that decided careers, superstars rising, others being buried. Critics grew louder. Was Vince a genius or a man who controlled too much? Because when one person has that level of power, there are no limits, and sometimes no accountability. Years passed, WWE evolved, the industry changed, but Vince McMahon remained surely in control until reality hit. New allegations, investigations, public scrutiny. This wasn't storyline anymore. This was real. And for the first time in decades, Vince McMahon couldn't control the narrative. The man who built everything was now stepping down, not as a character, but as the real person behind it all. The empire remained, but its creator was no longer untouchable. So what is Vince McMahon's legacy? A visionary who revolutionized an industry, or a powerful figure who went too far? The truth is, he's both. Without Vince McMahon, there is no WWE, no global stage, no larger-than-life superstars, no moments that define generations. But at the same time, his story is a reminder that power, no matter how strong, doesn't last forever. In the end, Vince McMahon didn't just create wrestling as we know it, he became part of it. A character, a mastermind, a controversy. And maybe that's how he'll always be remembered. Was Vince McMahon a genius? Or did power corrupt him? Comment your opinion below. And if you enjoyed and want more deep stories like this, subscribe now.